If you've been scrolling through endless spec sheets, watching YouTubers hype up the newest GPUs, and still feel stuck wondering whether a pre-built rig is worth the cash, you're not alone. The biggest fear is ending up with a monster that sits idle because it's either overkill for what you actually play, or it just can't keep up with the next wave of titles. In my experience, the real test of a gaming desktop isn't just the headline numbers, it's how it behaves once you fire up a game, stream a session, or try to squeeze a quick edit in between. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Panorama's RTX 5080 desktop lands in that sweet spot where raw horsepower meets a ready to-go package. It's built around Intel's 24-core i9-14900KF, paired with the brand new RTX 5080 GPU that carries 16GB of GDDR5. On paper that sounds like a ticket to 4K ultra-high frame rates, but the practical side matters more than the bragging rights. The machine ships with 64GB of DDR5 RAM and a 2TB Gen 4 NVMe SSD, meaning you won't be waiting for textures to load in sprawling open worlds, and you'll have enough memory to keep dozens of browser tabs open while you game. Let's talk about the everyday experience. I set this rig up in a modest 1010-foot room with a mid-range 1440p 144Hz monitor. After plugging it in, the system booted straight into Windows 11 Pro, already optimized for gaming performance. The first game I launched was Cyberpunk 2077 on ultra settings, and I hit a steady 115 frames per second at 1440p, with occasional spikes up to 130 when the action quieted down. That's a solid improvement over my older 1080 capable rig, which struggled to stay above 60 frames per second on the same settings. The RTX 5080's DLSS 3 integration really shined here, delivering smoother motion without noticeable artifacting. Beyond gaming, the desktop's liquid cooling solution kept temperatures low enough that I could run a 4-hour livestream of a 30-player battle royale without the fans hitting the high screen zone. The 9 ARGB PWM fans do spin up when the GPU pushes hard, but the overall acoustic profile stays in the 3035 dB range, which is comparable to a quiet office air conditioner. That's a practical win for anyone who lives in an apartment or shares a space where constant fan noise would be a nuisance. Now, who should actually consider buying this machine? If you're a serious gamer who wants to jump into 4K gaming without spending weeks tweaking BIOS settings, or if you're a content creator who needs a powerful GPU for GPU-accelerated video encoding, this system checks a lot of boxes. The 64GB of RAM means you can run heavy editing suites like Adobe Premiere while simultaneously having multiple VMs for testing or streaming. The integrated Wi-Fi 6E and a 2.5 GB ERJ45 port also mean you won't have to hunt for a separate network card if you have a fast router. You can plug straight into a wired gigabit line and get consistent low-latency performance. On the flip side, there are scenarios where this rig is overkill. If you mainly play esports titles at 1080p, or you're satisfied with 60 frames per second on a 1440p monitor, you'll likely never tap the full potential of that RTX 5080. In that case, a more modest build could save you a few $100s. Also, because it's a pre-built system, the upgrade path isn't as straightforward as a custom-built PC. While the case does allow for component swaps, you'll need to navigate the internal cable management and potentially deal with proprietary mounting for the liquid cooler. If you enjoy the DIY experience of swapping out parts every few months, you might feel boxed in. One hidden trade-off is the size and weight. The chassis is a full tower designed to accommodate the liquid loop and the array of 9 fans, so moving it from one room to another isn't a weekend project. It's not a problem if you have a permanent gaming station, but it does limit flexibility if you travel for LAN events or want to set up temporary gaming stations at friends' houses. The power supply is a solid 850W unit, which is more than enough for the current components, but that also means it's a bit louder during peak draw compared to a smaller, lower wattage unit. You'll notice a faint hum if you sit right next to the case during heavy load, though it never becomes distracting. Another practical consideration is the software side. Panorama installs a custom empowered PC suite that gives you quick access to performance profiles, RGB controls, and driver updates. I found the interface clean and useful, especially the one-click game mode that automatically tweaks power settings and disables background services. However, the suite does add a layer of startup processes that some power users might want to disable. It's not a deal breaker, but it's worth knowing that you'll have an extra piece of software you may need to tweak if you prefer a lean Windows installation. The 3-year warranty is a point that can't be ignored. Many pre-built PCs offer a 1-year guarantee, but Panorama backs this machine for 3 years, covering parts and